Somewhere between the documented and the denied, between what history recorded and what it chose to forget, there are stories. Not fiction exactly, not fact exactly, something older than both. You're listening to the Threshold Tapes. Settle in.
The Pacific wind moved across the empty atoll like something ancient and patient. Inside the single concrete building, 12 ordinary people slept on separate floors, each wired to monitors. At 3:17 a.m, every electroencephalogram trace lit up in perfect unison, and every one of them began to speak the same words at the same moment, calm and eerily clear. One must be given so that one may walk. The blood opens the gate. Then the screaming started. This is Dr. Marcus Reed, Associate Professor of the History of Science at Calden University. In the autumn of 2023, while cataloguing unprocessed holdings in the Department of Psychology's restricted archives, I opened a locked metal cabinet labelled Harkness Pacific Protocol, 1994, Terminated. Inside were 3 items: a folder containing 12 intake forms, a spiral-bound technician's log, and a single cassette tape marked Audio Memo, Grant, E, Private. The facility itself was located on an unnamed atoll in the Central Pacific, 1,200 kilometres from the nearest inhabited island. Official maps list the atoll as uninhabited. The site was chosen because it lies directly atop what the project's classified geophysical appendix called a major Earth ley line, a convergence of telluric currents measured at 40.7 microteslas, the highest reading ever recorded on the planet. The 12 participants were flown in under the cover of a routine sleep architecture study. They were told nothing about the ley line. I have transcribed the materials exactly as found. There is no speculation here, only the documents and the logical sequence they reveal. The study began as a modest inquiry into shared sleep content under controlled isolation. What it documented was something else. The recovered intake forms, typewritten, 1 page each, completed in the required block printing. All 12 volunteers passed identical psychological and medical screening. None had prior acquaintance. Their diversity was deliberate. Subject 3, Robert L. Whitaker, age 27, computer programmer. Stated motivation, extra cash for grad school loans. Noted, I dream in code sometimes. Clean lines, no bugs. Subject 7, Dr. Linda M. Hargrove, age 42, adjunct professor of psychology. Occasional lucid dreamer. Noted, I have always wondered whether consciousness follows deeper patterns, equations seeking their own solutions across distance. Subject 11, Thomas A. Greer, age 19, undergraduate biology major. Reported, I never remember dreams anyway. Volunteered on a dare. The remaining 9 were a night shift factory supervisor, a high school mathematics teacher, an electrical engineer, a retail clerk, a retired accountant, 2 homemakers, and a postal worker. All were housed in private monitoring rooms on separate floors of the single reinforced concrete structure built atop the ley line. Polysomnographic equipment recorded continuously. Subjects were awakened after each REM period and asked to describe any dream aloud into a wall-mounted microphone. No subliminal cues. No external stimuli. The protocol was scheduled for 14 nights. The technician log. maintained by night technician Sarah Klein. Her handwriting begins neat and grows progressively tighter, the letters smaller, as though the writer were trying to contain something on the page. Night 1. All subjects achieve normal sleep latency. REM episodes at expected intervals. Verbal reports, fragmented, idiosyncratic. Dr. Grant noted in margin, baseline confirmed, leyline readings stable. Night 2. REM cycles slightly elongated. Subject 7 reported walking down a corridor of light that felt older than the ocean. Subject 3 reported shelves of glowing numbers arranged in perfect order. No overlap recognised at time of logging. Night 3. At 3:17 a.m, all 12 achieved simultaneous REM onset. Duration 47 minutes. Upon awakening, every subject used the identical phrase, the lattice. The voice identified itself only as the one who waits at the crossing. Leyline flux increased by 0.3 microteslas during the episode. Night 4. Simultaneous REM at 3:17 a.m. Duration 62 minutes. The voice instructed the subjects to prepare the vessel. All reported feeling elegant inevitability. Night 5. REM onset 3:17 a.m. Duration 81 minutes. The voice recited private facts no outsider could know. It then issued the first explicit directive. One must be given, so that one may walk. Choose. The blood opens the gate. The island is the cradle. All 12 refused breakfast. They sat on the edges of their beds, breathing in exact rhythm. Night 6. REM onset 3:17 a.m. Duration 94 minutes. The voice spoke a single sentence in unison. The processor requires the first sacrifice tonight. Choose, or the choice will be made for you. By 4:42 a.m, 3 more subjects had attempted self-harm. Dr. Grant wrote one line on the official termination form. Protocol ended. Further observation contraindicated by external influence. He signed it and left the building. He has not returned. The participants were never formally discharged. University transport logs list them as transferred to long-term observation wing on site. The wing was sealed the following week. Power consumption on that floor has remained constant for 30 years. Exactly 12 adult human basal metabolic rates, plus the standby draw of 12 electroencephalogram units. Nothing more, nothing less. The recovered audio memo. This is Dr. Elias Grant, Principal Investigator. The date is June 14th, 1994. Time 5:03 a.m. The study has been terminated. I will not file the usual scientific report. What we have observed is not a psychological phenomenon. It is not mass hallucination induced by the ley line's electromagnetic field. It is not even, strictly speaking, a dream. The electroencephalogram data show perfect synchronization of theta and gamma waves across subjects isolated by concrete floors, steel doors, and 200 meters of open air. Cross-correlation coefficients approach 1.0. That is statistically impossible under any known model of human consciousness. The voice is not generated by the subject's brains. The voice is using the subject's brains as temporary terminals. It calls itself the one who waits at the crossing. It demands blood, specifically the ordered termination of 11 nodes so that the 12th may serve as vessel. It describes the process with the same clinical elegance it uses to describe the lattice. It referred to the result as the moonchild of the ley line. Tonight, it thanked us for the data. It predicted the exact minute I would sign the termination notice. It also predicted that 2 orderlies would be found dead by morning, with their throats cut in perfect circles. That has already occurred. I have sealed the records and powered down the external monitoring equipment. The island's single airstrip has been sabotaged. The supply boat will not arrive for another 11 days. If anyone finds this tape, understand one thing. We are not alone in the universe. We never were. We are simply asleep most of the time. Whether the entity has already localized, whether one of the 12 now walks the island wearing human skin, is a question I choose not to answer. The power readings remain stable. The wind outside sounds exactly the same. End of memo. The Harkness Pacific facility remains sealed. The 12 participants are listed in university personnel files as participating in groundbreaking longitudinal research on site. Their next of kin receive annual letters stating that the subjects are well and may not be contacted. Satellite imagery from 2022 shows the atoll unchanged. A single figure can sometimes be seen walking the perimeter at dawn, too distant to identify, moving with the unhurried precision of a man who has all the time in the world. The ley line still registers 40.7 microteslas. Nothing more, nothing less. The universe, it seems, keeps its accounts with elegant precision. This concludes the recovered materials. The sleep study that began as a modest inquiry into REM patterns documented something else entirely: the quiet, irrefutable evidence that human consciousness is not a private property. It is a node, and the one who waits at the crossing now has our data on file. You have been listening to the Threshold Tapes.